Today we're rustling the tree. Are skill builds worth it within the current meta? As with everything, it requires a use case. See, the problem at the moment is, as with raids, legendaries, and now the Incursion, this is essentially going to be the area where the current meta is going to be compared to, which is kind of unfair because in this situation, only really 3 types of builds actually stand out, and that's going to be Regulus Headhunter, Strikers, and in some use cases, potentially Heartbreaker. Now, before we get too far into this, massive shout out to Alan Sugu, Tony the Pony, and Big Knitter, with a guest appearance from Wolfie, who I'm particularly in love with because she's actually one of my female followers, which is really nice. And if you would like a chance to play with me, and I say chance just because it doesn't happen very often, I'm pretty busy, as well as the fact that I just run on first come first serve, so if you're the first to jump in, then you too can be part of doing things like this. Now, the idea behind this was to keep away from the bros. I wanted 3 people that were less experienced in this area of the game, i.e. running legendary DUA. 2 of the players are under SHD 1000, one's SHD 500, one's SHD 200. I believe Big Knitter was SHD 2000, and then there's obviously me. However, I wanted to stay away from the damage rolls, so I'm playing support in both. In the top left, sped up to 180%, just so that this video doesn't take forever, is Strikers. In the bottom right, sped up by 390%, is a skill build run through. And this is just essentially we're trying to compare the two. What one felt better, what was easier. Obviously, we don't need to have any guessing over what one was quicker. Mainly just because I said the Strikers is only sped up by 180 and the skill build is sped up by 390. So no prizes there as to what one is actually quicker. Now, this video isn't to be like skill builds are bad, skill builds aren't, well, they're not meta. I'm bored of this argument. Skill builds in no way, shape or form really are meta, especially within the turret and drone bracket. There is a loose argument that under very specific circumstances, Oxys can fit in, and depending on your definition of skill build, I personally don't equate status builds. I'm aware they have skill tiers, but for me, status build is very different to a turret and drone build, and then obviously a healer build. Now, in certain regards, status builds can be meta. I believe on the hard speed runs, the Fire Pyro build is meta, as well as especially in like legendary, the Eclipse CC build is absolutely meta. But outside of them, looking just at turret and drones specifically, sometimes the Seeker spam, that sort of thing, where do they really fit in with the meta? Are they actually worthwhile anymore? And generally speaking, in terms of clearing, the general consensus of some of the research that I've done, did a bit of research, asked a few people, I even did a Q&A at the end with the people that I'm doing these runs with, and like asking them like how they personally feel, like my feelings be damned. Granted, all 4 of them are either followers of mine or Rise of Brutality. I didn't want to do this with complete randoms, simply just because trying to get randoms to cooperate with certain builds is not going to be very worthwhile, and I also didn't want it to take 9 years, so I got randoms within the group, and the general consensus seems to be that they do prefer Strikers. However, skill builds do still have a place, but it's generally more of a relaxed, calm environment playing with friends, simply because skill builds seem to lack the versatility. So I'm going to be ending this video with their thoughts on this. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health. So how do people feel? Like, genuinely. Like, honest answer. Hurt my feelings if you must. Strikers versus skill build. How did we feel?
I mean, with a skill build, you really have to worry about keeping your skills up and spending your time waiting for cooldowns and really micromanaging, making sure everything's right. With Strikers, you just like point at the enemy and then just hold down mouse 1.
I'd say Strikers is faster, but skill build is somewhat more relaxing in a sense if you're not like in a hurry. Because my playgroup is full of like 50-year-olds. So I'm the only millennial there. So they play a bit more casually. So I'm fine with skill builds, even with the rigger roller mine cheese. I just opened a YouTube video on my second monitor and tune out of the game. So if someone's goal is to go fast as possible, like grind fast, they should go strikers. If they're just going through content casually, or they want to only do legendary once just so that they get the rewards, skill builds might be okay.
Strikers is better than skill builds. You just click on heads and they die.
Okay, well, given like your statements there, how would you feel about matchmaking though? Because judging by the statements you've made, it's pre-organized group, especially with you, Aaron Sugu. You were saying like your standard group. If you were to matchmake, would you go strikers or skill build for legendary? Bearing in mind we just did DUA, I would argue something like Manning and Tidal are very different beasts.
I'd say most people
Uh,
would prefer strikers over the skill build that we just ran, the just pure damage skill builds. It really doesn't match up in a group setting unless you really get it down, get good with it. For example, me, like they'll probably be asked, oh, can you really change? You're already scoring the group down, something like that. I don't think they'd appreciate it.
like with matchmaking with randoms, I would probably run strikers just because it's easier. I don't need to pay that much attention to my team because it's randoms. They might not use voice. They might not chat. So I wouldn't know what they're doing. I can adjust accordingly if I go strikers compared to a skill build where they might start the next area without my skills being off cooldown or something like that.
So essentially, you would try and play solo, but in a group, sort of try and be self-sufficient by yourself.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But I would also try to revive them if they're down and it's safe, something like that. But yeah, basically playing solo because I don't expect matchmaking with randoms to be in any way organized unless people use voice, then it would be organized.
Fair enough. Blind, anything to add?
The only skill builds I want to play with are one healer or one CC. If you're build, if you're being like a damage build, I really don't like it because it takes too long to kill stuff, especially on legendary.
Fair enough. So, final question then. Out of those 2 runs that we did, well, 3 runs technically, what did you personally prefer for whatever reason? Hasn't got to be like how quick. I wasn't really involved in the damage. I played support throughout both. What did you guys personally prefer? Did you prefer playing the strikers or did you prefer playing the skill build?
Definitely strikers.
Yeah, strikers.
Mostly strikers. If I was feeling kind of like under the weather, I would choose skill build, but normal conditions I would use strikers.
Fair enough. And Wolfie, since you're here, because I'm assuming you watched those runs, what one from like an outside perspective would, as like if you were watching a video, what one would you prefer to see, the strikers or the skill build?
Either, because like the guys said, skill builds are more relaxed. You know, if you're not in a hurry and you don't have to rely on people healing you, and you don't have to worry about going down a lot, because that happens to me. I'm quite squishy. And yeah, strikers is more powerful, definitely, and it is more group oriented for serious stuff like incursions and raids, but it definitely requires support that you played in this case. Otherwise, people would be going down left and right if it's like totally red builds and only red with no armor or anything.
Outstanding.
Yeah.